All right, let's talk about saving $1 million for an early retirement. Now, I want to go through two specific scenarios for you. First, I want to show you what it takes to save $1 million for retirement. And then I also want to show you a way that you can save extra money on top of what you're already doing to help you save $1 million for retirement. Okay, first, let me show you what it takes to grow your money to $1 million, or how to save $1 million for your retirement. First of all, let's say we're going to start with zero. So we have no money to start with. We're going to go from zero to $1 million. Now, there's some assumptions that we need to take. First of all, how old are you when you start saving for retirement? Well, in the scenario that we're going to use next, I'm going to use a 40-year-old individual, okay? So I'm going to say this person has $0 saved at 40 years old. How much do they have to save to get $1 million? Well, the next question becomes, when do you want to access this $1 million for retirement? So let's say they're going to access it at age 55. So that's when they're going to retire. They're going to retire at 55. They're asking, can I retire at 55? And so we're going to look at this saying, we've got $0 right now. We need to save for the next 15 years. What does it take to get to $1 million? All right. So we've got 15 years. That's how long we're going to save for. We also want to know where we're going to put these dollars in order to save $1 million. Well, we're going to repurpose this money into the stock market. So we're going to invest in the stock market for these 15 years to get us to $1 million in retirement. And we're going to use a rate of return of 6%. Now that means all the money that we're investing is going to grow at 6%. Now the reason I'm using 6%, the stock market has averaged 10%. With inflation, it's actually 8% since about 1950. I'm going to back off by 2% to 6% to show you what it takes a little bit more conservatively to grow your money to $1 million. I'm also going to show you 4% and 8%. So I'll give you the best case scenario, kind of the worst case scenario, and I'll give you the middle case scenario when it comes to saving for retirement and growing your money to $1 million. So 6% is going to be our rate of return. 15 years is how long we're going to save for retirement. And remember, we're starting with $0. So we have to ask ourselves, how much do we need to get to that magical 7-figure $1 million in retirement? Well, let me pull out my handy dandy calculator, because math don't lie when it comes to your retirement planning. So we want to get to $1 million. That's our future value, meaning that's how much money we want in retirement. So we want $1 million. We're going to earn 6% a year. We're starting at 0. We're going to do this for 15 years. How much do we have to save? Well, at 6% for 15 years to get to $1 million, we've got to put in $3,438 per month, earning 6% to get $1 million over a 15-year time period. Now, if you're younger than 40, if you're 30 or 25 or 35, this is actually going to be less. Or if you're 45, 50, this is going to be more. You've got to understand, how much do I need to save now to get to the figure that's going to help me get to retirement, get through retirement, and protect your ability to stay in retirement. So 6% rate of return in the market, we need to be saving $3,438 per month for 15 years, and that gets us to $1 million. But what about 4% and 8%? So this is kind of our really conservative scenario, right? I'm going to say the worst case scenario is that over the next 15 years you earn 4%. And let's say we average exactly what the market gets. You invest in VOO, which is the Vanguard S&P 500 ETF, and you get exactly what the market gets less the expense ratio for VOO, which I think is about 0.03. Really, really low. So 8% and 4%. So if we get 4%, we've got to save $4,063 per month. So the lesser rate of return, the lesser your money makes over time, the more you have to save monthly to get to $1 million. So if you're investing in the bank and your time horizon is short, you're not ever going to get to $1 million in retirement savings. Let's go to 8%. 8%, you need to be saving $2,889 over that 15-year period. So as you can see, the greater the rate of return, the less money that you need to be saving on a monthly basis. So let me give you a little tip. Here's what I do with my clients. If we're saving for retirement, we're trying to get to a retirement goal, and we're adding money on a monthly or semi-annual or quarterly or annual basis or whatever. We're saving for retirement. We're going to look at our numbers every year two different ways. We're going to look at our budget. We're going to see how much money we're saving versus spending to see if there's any excess that can be invested. And also, we're going to look at our rate of return. How are our investments performing? How is our 401k performing? How is our IRA performing in the market? And is that rate of return enough to get us to the retirement figure that we need to retire at whatever age we want? And then we adjust as necessary. So if our rate of return is higher and we're later in the game, we're getting closer to retirement, we might be able to say, hey, we don't have to invest as much this year because our rate of return has come down if you need to use that money for other things. Maybe you're doing home renovations because you're going to sell your home when you retire, or whatever. We just need to be looking at this on a quarterly and annual basis. And if you work with a financial advisor and you're not reviewing it on a quarterly or annual basis, there's something wrong. You need to be talking to him or her. Why are we not reviewing this? And if you've got a 401k or an IRA that you self-manage, it's something that you desperately want to look at every single year to make sure that you're saving enough for retirement so that you can get to your $1 million. Don't just be throwing a blind dart at it and hope that it's going to hit. You've got to have a plan. We call it a financial EKG. So that's how you save $4 million for 15 years if you're 40. Now, let's go into the actual detailed scenario. And again, we're going to use math because math don't lie. Hey, let me interrupt this very important video to encourage you to enroll in the new course, Can I Retire?, presented by Your Financial EKG. This course is absolutely free and helps you to determine if you are ready to retire. All the information is below. See you in the classroom. All right, let's go through this detailed scenario, how to save $1 million for retirement, doing some early retirement planning. And I want to show you how easy it is for you to just adjust some of your savings rates or your contributions to your 401k, or maybe saving into a freedom bucket. That way you have money that you can touch anytime, and how you can do it to save more for retirement. So let's look at this individual. I've got a 40-year-old individual. He is single. Okay, so we have a single individual. He wants to retire at 55. So we've got 15 years before retirement. So 40 to 55, 15 years. His 401k balance is $32,664. Now that is the median 401k balance in America today. So that's why I use that figure, $32,664 in his 401k. Yours could be higher, yours could be lower, but that's the median. Now his savings outside of his 401k is $25,000, meaning he has money in the bank. That is the median saved for a 40-year-old here in America. So we've got $25,000 in the bank. We've got about $32,600 in a 401k. His expenses are $36,000 annually. Again, that is a figure, an average figure for a single 40-year-old here in America. His contribution is $187 per month, and he has a match of $187 from his company. So 187 and 187 is going into his 401k. So we first need to figure out what's the balance of this 401k going to be when he retires. Now his salary right now is $75,000 a year. That's the average salary for a 40-year-old here in America. So I don't think I wrote that down. So $75,000 is his salary. So we want to go, okay, what's this 401k going to be worth at 55? Because we know the savings is not going to be worth much of anything because it's just getting 0.0 nothing. So whatever's going into your savings is not earning anything. What's going into the 401k is invested in the market, so it is earning a rate of return. Now we're going to use 6%. Again, I'm a little bit conservative when it comes to our rates of return. If we get 8, 9, 10%, Dave Ramsey says 12%. If we get that, we're going to high five and chest bump. But when I'm doing an EKG for someone, when we're planning out retirement dollars, I want to be a little bit more cautious, and I would rather under promise and over deliver than over promise and our whole house is blown down by a hurricane. All right, so 6% is going to be our rate of return in retirement. Remember, our contributions on a monthly basis are $375. So that's what's going into our 401k on a monthly basis, and we're going to do this for 15 years. Now the assumption that we're making when we're just doing some base case planning is that our salary is not going to change and we're not going to have any bonuses. So again, this is very basic planning, but this is where you start, especially if you're wanting to build your retirement plan. You've got to start at the base. If you build a house, you have a blueprint first. Before you start picking out your fixtures and your curtains and your floors, you got to know where you're going to dig your hole. So $32,664, 15 years, earning 6%. At the end of 15 years, the 401k would be worth $189,217. This is not enough to retire at 55 years old. That is not enough money to retire at 55. So in this scenario, we've got to look at his budget. We've got to look at all this and say, okay, can we do one of two things? Can we, one, repurpose more money into the 401k, or two, does it make sense to invest outside of the 401k? In his case, he's got a 401k and he has nothing as an investment on the outside. So he doesn't have any kind of non-qualified or a taxable brokerage account. But he is wanting to retire at 55. So if he wants to retire at 55 and we're in this scenario and we're going to look at saying, do we invest in our 401k or outside of our 401k? If taxes aren't an issue, meaning if his taxes are, he's breaking even or he's getting a small refund, then we are probably going to look at investing outside of the 401k at this point. Because if we put the money in the 401k, if it's not a Roth 401k and we retire at 55, first of all, we can use the rule of 55, whether it's a Roth 401k or a traditional 401k. But if it is a traditional 401k, all the money that we pull out of it at age 55 is taxable income. And so what I'd rather do is, if the Roth option is not available here, put the money in what I call a freedom bucket, a taxable brokerage account, just an extra bucket of money where he can pull from it at any time. 50-year-old, 53-year-old, 57, doesn't matter how old you are, and the IRS won't tax you. Now, you will pay taxes on capital gains and interest, but you won't be penalized. Let me say that again. If you put money into a freedom bucket and you pull it out, you won't be penalized, but you will pay taxes on capital gains, dividends, and interest. So let's look at the budget real quick. So let me find my eraser here. So we've got 189 is what we would be at 15 years. So let's erase this. So now we've got to do his budget. So we've got to say, okay, where can we save some more money? So budget, it's not a bad word. So his salary is $75,000 a year. That's his salary, okay? So if we're looking at his budget, $7,500 of this is going to go to taxes. Okay, so that's an annual figure. And the reason we're doing that is because at $75,000, we have the standard deduction for a single individual. So its effective tax rate, he would only pay $7,500 in taxes. We're not including state taxes in this because he lives in Florida, my state, and there's no state income tax. So if you live in a high state, or if you live in a state that has an income tax or a high income tax, you need to calculate that in, or you need to move to Florida. All right. So $7,500 is what taxes are going to be. His contribution is $2,244. That's his contribution. So that's coming out of that $75,000, right? So it's not money that we don't want to adjust that. We want to keep investing into the 401k. And his expenses are $36,000. So this is like his mortgage, grocery bill, having fun, whatever. That's his expenses. So at the end of a year, we've got $29,256 left over. So this is money that can be repurposed for retirement. Now, here's the one thing I always talk to people about. Just because we have $30,000 repurposed doesn't mean we're going to have $30,000 at the end of each year. There's things that come up, right? You have a healthcare emergency. You need to fix something on your house. An air conditioner goes out. You need to buy a new car. Again, this is why we are going to review this on a quarterly basis to make sure that you're not living on rice and beans. I like rice and beans. It's good for my cholesterol, but it's not something that I necessarily want to always be eating because I'm financially strapped saving for retirement. You got to have fun. Whether you're 40, 41, 43, 33, 53, you want to have fun in this life because we don't know how much time we've got. So it's why we need to review this on a quarterly basis. So we've got $29,256 that we can now repurpose for saving in another account for retirement. All right, now we're looking at the scenario. We figured out how much we can save for retirement by doing our budget. We're continuing to invest in our 401k. So let's look at investing outside of the 401k and build our retirement dollars to $1 million. So we're 40 years old. We're going to continue to invest in our 401k. Remember, at the end of 15 years, we'll have about $190,000 in our 401k, continuing to do what we're doing. Now, Freedom Bucket. We're starting with 0 in the Freedom Bucket. 6% is going to be our rate of return for the money going into the market. 15 years, $24.38. That's how much we're going to invest per month, $2,438. That can be adjusted up or down. Again, we need to do our quarterly and annual reviews to make sure that that's the number that we want to continue to invest. At the end of 15 years, this individual would have $709,000. You add those two figures together, that's $899,000 saved for retirement at 55. Now, we're not at our $1 million mark yet. We can't do pixie dust, but we're pretty darn close to what we're trying to accomplish. If this gentleman were to work one more year, continuing to invest, let's say 16 years and 16 years, he would have $988,000. And if we did 2 more years of work, we would hit that $1 million mark. We'd actually be at $1,084,000. So again, when we're looking at retirement planning, when we're doing retirement scenarios, when we're running financial EKGs for clients, which you need a financial EKG to make sure that you can get to retirement, you can get through retirement, and you can protect your ability to stay in retirement. We want to look at all the different scenarios. What if I need to work a couple extra years to make sure I don't retire at the wrong time? That's why you need a financial EKG. You don't want to retire and have to go back to work. So in this case, if he works for an extra year or 2, he gets to that $1 million mark. Now, obviously, we don't know what his retirement expenses are going to be. That's another video. But this is how you save money for retirement and you get to that $1 million mark. I hope this has helped. God bless. Bye-bye.